Get a load of that. Yep. Welcome to Las Vegas. Welcome to the Link Studios overlooking Caesars Palace. It's Monday. Time for another episode of Bet. Alongside Tyler Foljam, I am Joe Fortenbaugh, and we have a big store in show for you today.
A big show in store for you would be the correct syntax
That's how you say that?
Of that sentence. Yes.
I wanted to see if you were paying attention. Is this Casual Monday?
Casual. No, it's actually Goat Monday.
Goat Monday?
I'm wearing.
Hard to argue.
It's pretty darn good. Got a nice little Monday night matchup. My Fighting Rammies against the Chicago Bears. It's an interesting kind of narrative around these two teams. The Bears are 5-1. I mean, there's only one team in the NFL with more wins than the Chicago Bears. But a lot of people look at them as maybe like they're just lucky to be 5-1. The Rams are 4-2, and I think a lot of talking heads and metrics will say they're good. But they've only beaten the 4 teams in the NFC East. They haven't beaten any other team in the NFL besides Dallas, Washington, the New York Giants, or Philadelphia. So
big opportunity tonight. Big opportunity tonight. To all of you on Facebook and Twitter, thank you for watching. You can also check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. It's where all of our content is, where all the Daily Wager content is. Anything ESPN gambling related can be found youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. We've got the World Series, Game 6 to talk about. We got Monday Night Football. We got the Parlay to Paradise recap. As you can tell, we are not in paradise, so someone blew it. But we begin every Monday, reaction or no action. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are pretty good, Curb fans. 45-20, they annihilate the Raiders, who were coming off their bye. They moved to 5-2 on the season, and they still don't have Antonio Brown, who they signed over the weekend. He'll be joining them shortly. Is this the team to beat in the NFC?
I think I'm going to have a reaction to that, and it is yes. Because they combine, I think, in the NFC specifically, the best in terms of balance. Offensively, Tom Brady had 5 touchdowns, and he has played way better than I thought he would. It helps having weapons like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski back. And
Gronk looks good, too.
Gronk looks great the last couple of weeks. Ronald Jones has taken his game to another level. Leonard Fournette has helped out. And the offensive line has been really, really good. Credit to Bruce Arians, credit to that coaching staff, credit to their GM there for bringing that group of talent, but credit to Brady as well for performing at still such a high level. He is operating as an elite quarterback should. When you have those weapons, you better be elite. And he has been elite with those weapons. And that doesn't even mention the best part about their team. Yeah, sure, Brady and the offense are going to get all the glitz and glamour.
That's A1.
Their defense is the best unit on that team. And so you combine that dominant defense that kind of put the stranglehold on Las Vegas, a team that had been very good offensively after a few couple issues, so to speak, on the first few drives, but they strangle them out after that. This team is the most complete I see in the NFC.
I'm with you on the reaction. I got to admit, I kind of thought they'd be okay this year. I was thinking 9-7.
Right.
The hype is too much. I didn't think Todd Bowles and the defense would be this legitimate. This is the most balanced team in the NFC. They're 3rd in scoring offense at 32 points per game. They're 8th in scoring defense. This is in the NFL. They're number 1 in the NFL in scoring differential at +80, which is a fantastic metric.
Predictive measure.
2 losses. Week 1 at New Orleans, which, all right, that's fine. The Saints are good, and you were just getting used to Brady, his new teammates, his new offense. At the same time, they lose Week 5 at Chicago. Short week, lots of guys were injured. So those are excusable losses against good teams. It is going to take a very balanced team to beat them. Seattle doesn't have the defense to do it. Green Bay doesn't have the defense to do it. The Rams maybe. The 49ers maybe, who are starting to win.
Right.
Literally no one in the NFC East. I won't even bother going there with that train wreck. But they are certainly elevating themselves as one of the best in the business. Moving along to another team that may have been overlooked a little too long. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now 6-0 after a 27-24 victory over the Tennessee Titans, the previously unbeaten Tennessee Titans. Point spread for next week's showdown with the Baltimore Ravens comes out with the Ravens as a 6-point favorite. That's where it opened this morning. Are we shorthanding, overlooking the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I have another very strong reaction to this prompt, and it is absolutely we're underestimating the Steel Boys. When I saw that yesterday, I said, this is outrageous. It's going to be maybe half of that by tomorrow. I'm looking on Caesars William Hill right now, and our graphics aren't even up to date because it's 3.5 that the Ravens are now laying. So it's getting closer to that ever-important number of 3. But, yeah, my reaction, absolutely we're underestimating the Steel Boys. We just talked about how balanced the Bucs are. On the AFC side, there may be no defense that is as ferocious as Pittsburgh's, but that offense is sneaky really good as well. James Conner, all he does is churn out 80 to 100 yards. Ben Roethlisberger is looking like Ben Roethlisberger of 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago because Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Eric Ebron. He's got weapons all over the place and a very solid offensive line. The culture, the coaching staff, absolutely, we're underestimating the Steel Boys.
I think the public is underestimating them a little bit because they weren't told before the season started, hey, this is going to be a Super Bowl contender. We were told it was going to be Kansas City and Baltimore.
Yeah, okay.
So anybody else, we're a little weary of outsiders
I like that.
in this day and age.
I like that psychology there.
So that's number one. Number two, it's not a flashy offense. Roethlisberger's what, 38, 39? The thought process would be these guys couldn't hang with, again, Baltimore or Kansas City. That's where the public is. The line movement from 6 all the way down to 3.5 shows you that the professionals very much value and respect the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll say, though, there's going to be a point where this line moves too much.
Yeah?
I've loved the Steelers. I've been betting them like crazy. I hated the Titans. I love that play this weekend. John Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, nice win this weekend as well against Minnesota. John Harbaugh coming off the bye in his career. 10-2 straight up, 9-3 against the spread, covering by an average of 8.6 points per game. Not winning by 8 points per game, covering by 8 points per game. Baltimore's got the extra rest, and they're playing at home. This line's eventually going to move too far.
I was all over Pittsburgh yesterday, but the way that it's moved now I'm starting to think I'm going to try and land in the middle there. Pittsburgh at +6.
A little middle.
A little middle. And if it gets down to 3, maybe Baltimore -3.
He's coming along nicely. He's coming along
He's learning.
very nicely, fitting in very well.
Growing.
I'll tell you what's not coming along nicely is the post-Tom Brady era in New England. It looked like early in the season, Belichick was winning the divorce. Now Brady most certainly winning the divorce as we get set to enter Halloween weekend. The Patriots have dropped 4 of 5 and just suffered the worst home loss of the Bill Belichick era, falling 33-6 to the San Francisco 49ers. Are they toast? Reaction or no action?
You know how I felt about Bill Belichick, so
William.
One more week, Hoodie, where it's no action. I'm going to RELAX in the words of Aaron Rodgers, who has nothing to do with the Patriots.
Letters of Aaron Rodgers.
But I'm going to say no action and give Belichick one more chance with Cam Newton as his quarterback to try and right the ship. I can't say anything positive about the last 2 weeks of football from the Patriots. But I cannot at all. So this is just the equity that Belichick has earned over the years.
Okay.
And so one more week of no action. If another disaster happens next week or whenever they play next.
It's the Bills. The Bills
could be
are on
calamitous.
the
Although the Bills might be a get-right, kind of sneaky get-right spot for the offense. Their defense, we thought they were going to be built on defense with Sean McDermott. It's their offense that's winning games. Their defense has been rather susceptible to allowing points. So, again, they got the Bills, huge matchup. He needs to win a division matchup there with the team that's leading the division. One more week of no action. After that, 5-alarm fire.
Bills did an excellent job gutting out that win over the Jets yesterday. It really, all 4 quarters, that's the way you stick it to New York like that.
It could be a get-right spot.
You and I have talked about this now for a few weeks. I keep saying the same thing when it comes to the Patriots. What do they do well? In the past, we could very much see that they were defensive-minded early on, guys like Teddy Bruschi. They became offensive-minded in the years with Welker and Randy Moss, and then they became very balanced throughout the course of the last decade. What do they do well? 24th in total offense, 17th in total defense. They're 0-2 on the road. They've lost 4 or 5. The only teams they beat were Miami in week 1, and then you had the Raiders later in the season. They haven't won on the road. Big problems. I'm like you. Give them some time, give them some credit, but they look terrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
Odell Beckham Jr., speaking of not good, suffers a torn ACL in his left knee during yesterday's miraculous come-from-behind win. Bengals-Browns, by the way, is a fantastic game every single time they get together. Like, those two always give you a great game. Cleveland prevails 37-34 over Cincinnati. How much is the Beckham loss going to affect Cleveland's playoff hopes? We can legitimately say that this year because they're winning football games.
Well, I'm going to say reaction, but I'm going to couch it this way, okay? Anytime an offense loses a player who has the talent, skill, and ability of an Odell Beckham Jr., that's a negative. When you remove someone who runs a 4-3, has the hands, the athleticism, the ability to create after the catch, that can't be good.
That's like if you walk out this door right now, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to do here?
Probably leave with you.
Maybe you'll throw 5 touchdown passes and complete 22 of 23 like Baker Mayfield and lead your team to a come-from-behind win like on 3 different occasions in the fourth quarter against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I want to couch it again by saying you don't get better by losing someone with the caliber of talent of Odell Beckham Jr., but I found some very interesting stats.
Ooh, I like interesting stats.
Baker Mayfield specifically over the last couple of years with Odell Beckham Jr. on the field and Odell Beckham Jr. off the field. I'll get to those in a second, but take a look at a guy who could replace him in this offense. Clearly, Mayfield has a better rapport, for whatever reason, with someone like Rashard Higgins. And our wonderful statistician researcher here, Mackenzie Kramer, dug this up for Baker Mayfield the last 2 seasons. With Beckham on the field, his QBR is 26 points lower than with Beckham off the field. His completion percentage is 5% lower than with Beckham off the field. His yards per...
Wait, what?
Yes.
Are you telling me he's better without Beckham? That's what his numbers suggest.
His TD to INT ratio is 8-1 with Beckham off. It's 29-27 with Beckham on.
That's
now,
insane.
Where he is worse is yards per attempt dropped by almost half a yard, and air yards per attempt dropped by almost 2 yards.
So he's shortening his swing.
He's shortening his swing, and maybe that plays into Baker's strengths better than trying to push the ball downfield to someone like Odell Beckham Jr. Maybe the Browns get a better version of Baker because they changed the game plan short to Landry, short to the tight ends, short to the backs. Turn around and hand it off 40 times and let Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, that's his name,
teamwork.
Run. Exactly. What would I do without you is the question.
You'd be talking about Nick Chubb all day.
And Kareem Hunt, let them run the ball down your throat. So again, you don't get better by losing someone like Odell, but maybe Baker operates more within his boundaries and confines without someone like Odell.
Beckham built a heck of a reputation for himself his first 3 years in the league. He has not been that receiver since. First 3 years, 288 receptions, 4,100 receiving yards, 35 touchdowns. Oof. That's insane. Last 4 years, 199 receptions, it's almost 100 less, 2,700 yards, that's almost 1,500 less, and 16 touchdowns. That's more than cut in half. His numbers have dropped. Now, injuries have hurt, quarterback situations have hurt, but let's face facts here. Not the same quarterback, or not the same receiver we remember for those years in New York. So it's not going to be a huge blow to what the Browns are trying to do. But at the same time, defenses still have to plan for him.
Exactly.
Him being off the field brings more attention to Jarvis Landry and everybody else.
I like that new camera angle they took of us, the 2-shot coming from the end.
I was looking over here,
like, do I go there?
I didn't even know there was a camera
I liked
there.
it, though. I like the angle there. It's good stuff.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that. Monday Night Football tonight, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. It's going to be Chicago Bears against that team right there.
My
the Los
fighting
Angeles
Rammies.
Rams. We are looking at a point spread now of what? It's about Rams minus 6.5.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's been pinging a little bit. We got a total of 44.5. So before we get into tonight's game, which of these two teams do we believe, it could be both, it could be neither, are serious contenders in the NFC? Take a look at this. Viewed somewhat evenly when it comes to odds. To win the big game, the Rams are sitting there at 20-1, Bears 25-1. The rest of you watching understand what you're looking at. You don't need me to go through all of it. But these are two very well-priced teams, or evenly priced teams in the eyes of Vegas. So let's start with your beloved Rams. How much of a contender? What are you buying and what are you selling here?
I think they're both contenders in the same tier. Although I look at the NFC and I wonder if there is a tier with just one team. Is that Tampa Bay and then everyone else? Because Seattle can't stop anyone. Arizona's now 5-2. Are we ready for them to make the jump? The Niners, of course, all the injuries. The Rams, they haven't beaten anyone outside the NFC East. You have the Packers, not, again, a great team defensively. The Bears, great defensively, but will their offense limit them? So I look around the league, and then there's the Saints as well who need to be accounted for. But where's Mike Thomas? This team is always involved in games that go over. Is that because of their offense, their defense? Like, I don't know. And they always find a way to lose in the postseason, although that's nothing that's, predictive, so to speak. But I wonder if the NFC is just like 8 teams that are all contenders, unlike the AFC where you're like, clearly Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Kansas City. Then there's a second tier of whoever else, and then maybe a third tier. But in the NFC, everyone is so bunched together. It's so deep in the NFC outside of the East Division that I think those odds were fair. And I think I would be equally as likely to see come to fruition in our reality a Bears NFC championship or a Rams NFC championship.
I would say, starting with the Rams, I can see all of it. I would buy in on the Super Bowl. I would buy in on the NFC Championship. I would buy in on the division. I'd buy in on making the playoffs. They bring balance to the table.
I like
the head coaching.
Yeah.
That checks a big box. Offensively, where are they at these days? I think it's 9th in yards per play. Defensively, it's 4th in opponent yards per play. 7 turnovers this season. That's tied for 8th in the NFL. They do a lot of things that you like. People will point to the schedule and say it's been easy. Whatever. I don't care. I can't control that.
Right.
You can highlight those points, but we're far enough into the season that I think this is a very good team.
And they beat those NFC East teams by a combined 47 points. So it's not like they were just squeaking by them. And the game they lost to Buffalo, they came back from and took the lead on Buffalo and
the
lost.
The Bills are a good team.
Exactly. And the game against the 49ers, after all this back and forth from the East Coast, and there was a one-possession game. Cooper Kupp dropped a touchdown. It was a lot of self-inflicted wounds from the Rams. So I do think they're a good team, but ultimately, you have to beat someone else besides an NFC East team. It starts tonight with the Bears.
The Bears at 5-1. If they go 4-6 over their last 10, that gives them 9 wins. They're probably getting in. But it's just, I remember something.
I like both to make the postseason.
And it's a plus 12 point differential for a 5-1 team. There is some regression on the horizon tonight. This is the name of the show, after all. What are you thinking? Give me something.
Okay.
Preferably a winner.
Yeah, preferably a winner. Hopefully
the
Rams win, but I think 6.5 is too much to lay for the Rams because you look at the last 2 years these teams have played. 2018 in Chicago in Soldier Field, it was a 15-6 final. Last year,
it was a cold game.
It was a cold game. It was a very. I was there.
It was a good guess.
It was a frigid game and an awful game to watch.
You were there?
I was there, and it was not fun. I had just come back from Europe too, so I was on a bender, and then I ended it on a Sunday night. Sitting in 12-degree weather, watching my team get their you-know-what kicked. So. Just an awful, awful decision to hop off the plane and go straight to Soldier Field.
Let's go to Soldier Field after a siesta in Europe.
I think 6.5 is too much to lay. So I am going to take the underdog Bears with the point 6.5. I do think, again, the under is the play, though. 15-6 in 2018, 17-7 the final in 2019. When these teams play, it's usually showcasing Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald and Nick Foles and Jared Goff kind of running for their life as they're under pressure and under siege.
I'll throw this your way. I think you can tease it either way and be in pretty good shape. Some people are going to want to tease the Rams from 6.5 down to a half just win the game. I get it. The Bears, you can take them up to double digits. Matt Nagy, the head coach in Chicago, 2+ seasons on the job, has only, I think it's now his 4th season on the job, has only lost by double digits 2 times. 2 times. So when they lose, the Bears keep it competitive. That's thanks to the defense. The real pick for me, though, is going to be the under as well. I'm right there with you on it. It was as high as 47, came down to 44.5. I don't see a whole lot happening here because you have 2 good defenses. Duh. At the same time, that Bears offense has struggled throughout the course of the season. That's going to play right into what the Rams want to do. I don't see Chicago trying to fly up and down the field from a pace standpoint either. Under is going to be the play for me. Now, tomorrow, we are going to have another game we need to discuss. Bet does not return until Wednesday, so we've got World Series Game 6. The Dodgers, believe it or not, have the Rays on the brink. So a very simple question for you, sir. Blake Snell versus Tony Gonsolin. Is this thing going 7?
Yes. I think when we started this series, that was a prevailing wisdom that it was going to be a 6 or 7 game series. We're clearly at 6 right now, so we need the Rays to win to stretch it to 7. But these games have been back and forth. It's not like, the Dodgers bludgeoned to death in 3 games and the Rays squeak by in 2. These have been close, competitive, entertaining games. The weakness now in the staff for the Dodgers is Gonsolin and these bullpen starts. Snell, a former Cy Young Award winner, he's going to go, and they have the arms behind him that Kevin Cash can turn to in the bullpen. We expected a 7-game series. At least I did. I'll say that. I expected a 7-game series before it started. So
I
why
had Dodgers in 3.
Why?
I was making the rare troll pick.
That's a good one. I see a Game 7, so why not, predict or bet on that happening and take the Rays in Game 6?
This has been a zigzag theorist dream. Dodgers in 1, Rays in 2. Dodgers in 3, Rays in 4. Dodgers in 5,
Rays in 6, baby.
On that one. Tony Gonsolin has appeared already in this series. He's only going to be in for a little while anyway, so they're mostly going to rely on the bullpen. Blake Snell is a lefty, plays right into what we're hoping for. He already pitched well once in this series, and at the same time, we're in a situation in which the Dodgers hit lefties a little bit worse than they hit righties. They crush righties. They're still very good against lefties, but not great. I'm with you. I'll take the Rays. We'll extend it to 7, and then we'll be back on here Wednesday.
And I just think the value is there with the Rays, too. In Game 6, they're plus 125. Like, yeah, I think that's just the smart bet.
Yeah.
That's the best way to invest your money rather than throwing, $1.35 to try and win $1 back on Tony Gonsolin and the Dodgers. Can the Dodgers win this game? Absolutely.
Yes.
Would you be shocked if they did? Absolutely not. But the value is clearly with Blake Snell and the Rays in Game 6.
It's like the Heat in that series against the Celtics. It's like they were
exactly
underdogs. They were a good team.
Yeah.
Woo! Monday, time to recap the Parlay to Paradise. And as you can see, we are not in paradise. We do this every Thursday. 9-team parlay for $50 that generally could play somewhere around this week, $32,000.
All right, good job, Brother Joe.
You know what? Not bad.
Yeah.
I would say not bad. You found yourself in a situation where you went 2 for 4,
yeah.
2 out of 2 and 2, I should say. 3 and 1 on my end, so we were both going to lose at some point here. Zubin, I'm not listening to the morning show anymore. That's the end of that.
Yeah, that was.
No, I'm just kidding. It seems like all the guests are put into a mush situation when we're like, here are 8.
Yeah,
so
you stay away from
these
those.
games. You find something like the
that,
Broncos.
Zubin.
You go play the Broncos against Patrick Mahomes.
Bet
and
Detroit,
if you win, we take
Atlanta
credit
over is mine.
and the money. And if we lose, we bash you good for Monday's show. One pick of note here, and some of these were real tight. My Detroit pick, plus 2.5 against Atlanta. Needed a little bit of luck to get there.
You did.
Todd Gurley at the end of this game, and this is just insane, has the ball. He's running for the goal line. The Lions are escorting him. It is the red carpet to the end zone. We want you to score because if you don't, you run out the clock and we lose. If we let you score, we can at least get the ball back and try to win. Gurley tries to stop himself. He falls into the end zone. Lions players start celebrating. The Lions march down the field, score a touchdown, win the game. Now, it sounds insane because it is. It's even more insane because the day before, Penn State was at Indiana laying 6.5, and the same thing happened. Indiana let Penn State score at the end of the game. If the guy just goes down, it's over. The Nittany Lions win, but he goes in. Indiana comes down and scores. Game goes to overtime. Indiana wins it in overtime. What's the worst loss between the two?
Okay,
they're both horrible.
They're both horrible, but here's what I'll say. Is it really that bad of a loss for the Falcons when we've already seen this like 2 other times this year?
It's on brand.
Super Bowl as well. It's very on brand.
It's on brand.
For Penn State, they were a team that had national title hopes, and we had not seen these type of gaffes from the Nittany Lions.
This is what you're talking about.
That wasn't even the worst loss they've had this season. They've had 2 losses worse than that, Brother Joe. So I guess I gotta go Nittany Lions on this one. Your Penn State Nittany Lions.
All right, first of all, they're not my Penn State Nittany Lions anymore. There will be no donations made to that school ever again. That's first and foremost. Number 2, they're college kids, so I can kind of understand if they're going to be the ones to screw it up. Number 3, Atlanta saw that happen. Everyone on earth saw that happen the day before. So every pro coach should have come in and been like, guys, we could be in a situation like these idiot kids. Let's not screw it up. You with me? What Arthur Blank should do, bring back Dan Quinn just to fire him again. Because he's not going to fire
Todd Gurley.
How do you? Did you see him on the field after the game?
Yes.
Hands on hips, man.
Yeah,
He looked like Count Dracula.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
He was so pissed.
The thing that was so shocking to me about this, Brother Joe, is that I'm a Rams fan, so I obviously watched the first 5 years of Todd Gurley's career, pretty much every snap. There were multiple occasions in recent seasons where Todd Gurley got roasted on Twitter and on social media for actually executing this play correctly. Multiple times with the Rams, he secured wins by getting loose at the end of the game and then sliding down inbounds before scoring a touchdown so the clock could run out and they could kick a field goal or just drain the clock. For the one player you would bet knows how to handle this situation properly because he's done it more than anyone else in the last few seasons is Todd Gurley. That's what was so dumbfounding about the incident.
On top of that, the first time he did it, we had never really seen it all that often. Brian Westbrook did it for the Eagles years ago against Dallas, I want to say, and people were so confused, and then fantasy owners were yelling and screaming left and right.
100%.
And Gurley did it, and everyone yelled and screamed, but it's like Gurley at least knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
Football play.
He made the right football play.
Monday, time for a little Would You Rather. Are you ready?
Would I rather be a Nittany Lions fan or a Falcons fan?
Well, we could ask that question,
I think it's still
but the
Penn
answer there would
State.
be
I think it's still
neither.
Penn State right now.
I mean, that would be so terrible. All right, would you rather? Number 1.
Oh, Monday night edition.
Monday Night Football. Jared Goff going over his passing yard total, which you can see right there is 246.5, or Nick Foles goes over his passing yard prop, 245.5.
Can I go neither?
No. I'm going to say for the sake of the show, let's get some debate going here.
I think both are going to go under. I'll just throw that out there right now.
Say that.
I think both are going to go under, but if I had to pick one, I would rather bet on Jared Goff only because I think everything else is equal in both offenses, except the Rams have a better offensive line.
That is a homer pick if I've ever seen one. It was obvious you would be going there considering the jersey you're wearing. Shame on you for disgracing this fine show in such a fashion. I will take Nick Foles simply because I feel that the Bears are more likely to be trailing in this game.
Okay, that's fair.
Thus throwing the ball
I think that's fair.
the game.
I think that's very fair.
And had I not found out that you really like Jared Goff to do it, I probably would have taken Goff. I'd be like, yeah, Goff makes a lot of sense here. And they throw the ball all the time. Number 2.
Foles, and he's one less yard, too. So one less yard.
I got that huge edge.
You got that edge, baby.
Which wide receiver is more likely to go over his receiving total?
Man.
Allen Robinson for the Bears at 71.5 or Cooper Kupp for the Rams at 59.5?
Another very tough question. Allen Robinson is going to get fed 12 to 15
Well, what do you want me
targets.
to ask you? Julio Jones versus Steve Largent?
Yes, that would be nice.
Julio Jones.
That would be nice. It'd make my job easier here. A large.
I'm going to take Julio Jones because he actually plays this weekend.
A Largent throwback.
Retired.
I like. By the way, those Seahawks jerseys are the ones they should be going back to.
They're
The
awesome.
silver, the blue, and the green. They need
awesome.
that. I'm going to take Kupp here. The lower threshold. He has a tough matchup. Kyle Fuller and Jalen Johnson have been awesome. Allen Robinson should see Jalen Ramsey across from him pretty much every snap if Brandon Staley knows what he's doing. That's the only true weapon they have on that offense. So the reason it's a lower threshold, and again, I think the passing attack can be just slightly more efficient for the Rams. I think neither is going to be their normal efficiency because both passing defenses are dominant.
Yeah.
But I think the Rams slightly more efficient, so I'll go with Kupp.
I'm with you. I'm going to go over with Kupp as well because of exactly what you were just talking about with Allen Robinson. He's going to see Jalen Ramsey. He saw Jalen Ramsey last year. You know what happened in that game? 6 targets, 4 receptions, 15 yards, no touchdowns. Jalen Ramsey shut him down. And when you got Nick Foles throwing you, nice quarterback, not an elite quarterback.
Right.
He's not going to be throwing you open on a regular basis. Not only do I like Kupp here, I think the best bet tonight, Allen Robinson under 71.5 receiving yards.
Okay.
Seriously, it's my favorite bet on the entire board tonight.
I love it too
Ramsey's
because
gonna shut him down.
the Rams' efficiency, again, defending the pass and having a true stud to put on their alpha. The only thing that scares me is that Robinson is a volume monster. He could get it by virtue of just 14 to 15 targets, especially if they're trailing. So that's the only concern I have, but everything else goes on the checklist of under. This is why it's going to be an under.
Would you rather,
Yeah.
final question, spend a weekend in Chicago or Los Angeles?
Well, I've done both many a time. I lived in Chicago for 7 years before moving out here to Vegas and got
spend a
friends and
weekend in
family.
Chicago,
I
though,
spent
while you
a
lived there?
weekend or
Okay,
250.
box checked.
Exactly. It was kind of like our wings nachos conversation we had. I think LA is going to be better more weekends of the year than Chicago because of the weather. Just the bottom line, the weather. It's easier to
Who
have
doesn't
fun.
like a sleet storm?
I mean, like a good old.
I'd love to go to Chicago.
I
in
one
February.
time woke up with ice that had just like frozen on my car in a way I'd never seen and didn't even know was like physically possible. I can't
And you're
even
from
describe
the
it.
Midwest.
And I'm from the Midwest. But but you give me a summer weekend in Chicago, and there's no city on planet Earth that is better. I mean, it's gorgeous weather. There's a lake there. There's some sand that they call a beach. The food, the people, the buildings, the energy. There's street festivals, music festivals, all kinds of stuff. You don't have to Uber 45 minutes to get from one place to the next. Everything is tightly condensed. The best choice is a summer weekend in Chicago. The rest of the year, I'll take LA.
Yeah, I'm going to take Los Angeles because based on your criteria, they also have buildings and food and literally everything you laid out, LA has as well. LA will trump Chicago because you have to narrow it down to a very finite window where the humidity isn't going to crush you and the cold isn't going to Jake Gyllenhaal you. Because the last thing you want to do is get stuck in the New York Public Library and your girlfriend's got sepsis and you got to go out and face the wolves in the
Golly.
ghost ship that froze in the middle of Manhattan.
Scurvy?
So you want to go
She
to
gonna
LA.
get scurvy too?
Yeah, although Chicago is just absolutely fantastic. That's a good
It was a great
question.
city to live in. It was
Avoid
a
the
great city to
traffic.
live in.
Player to score first touchdown. This guy right here last week, he told you Christian Kirk was going to score the first touchdown in the Arizona-Dallas game. Christian Kirk did it. He didn't do it as a favor. He did it at 18-1. Who you got tonight? Give the people another one.
Okay, so we just learned that Tyler Higbee is out. So I'm going to give you
Okay.
2. I've earned 2 now. I get 2 when you get it right.
I'm not so sure that's
Cam
how that
Akers
works.
at 20-1. Cam Akers at 20-1. People like Cam Akers saw 1 snap last week.
Florida
If
State.
you go back to week 1 and week 2, he was the first running back on the field in the first offensive series against Dallas and Philadelphia for Sean McVay. I think it's finally time to unleash him. And 20-1 as well, Gerald Everett, who's now going to see the lion's share of the snaps with Tyler Higbee out. So 2 20-1 Rams plays, Akers and Everett.
He's picking 2. I'm going to pick
I earned
10. Everybody you saw on the screen, those are my picks. So when one hits, I can tell you next week that I had it. What I'm really going to do is take Chicago Bears wide receiver Anthony Miller at 22-1. Miller's not 7 touchdowns as a rookie a couple years ago.
I like
He's
it.
not a guy that's going to roll up 10 receptions, but with Ramsey on
Yeah.
Allen Robinson, it opens up some opportunity, and I always want to play a long shot.
Miller will be in the slot against the worst cornerback that they have, Troy Hill, on the Rams secondary. So I like that. I think that's a smart play.
Nervous? Are you nervous at all?
I am a little nervous, yeah. I think this is like a 54-46 type of toss-up game.
Ooh.
No, like a 20-17 score, but like
54-46.
What is
Thank
this?
you for tuning in tonight.
Big
We love
12
you. We'll
after
see you
dark.
Wednesday. We'll see you Thursday when Bet returns.
Go, Goat.
Enjoy the game tonight.
Let's go, GOAT. Be a GOAT.